everybody, and thank you very much for that introduction, Rajan. So, yes, as Rajan said, I am the co-founder of Zero, by Trees for Travel, and we are a micro-investment joint venture into climate solutions program. But you'll hear a lot more about later today, or later tomorrow, actually, about our initiatives. So today I'm very honored to chair this session, which will define ESG within sustainability in our industry, and we'll look at what industry leaders are doing. So let me welcome the panel today. So Carlota, if you'd like to join us. Carlota is head of ESG from HBX Group. Next we have Geraldine Koenig, who is the Chief Risk and Compliance Officer of Beachcomber Resorts. And Lucas Boas from Amadeus, Group Environmental Officer. And Jess from Sabre Corporation, Global Sustainability Director. So thank you everybody for coming here today. This is industry leaders, very distinguished panel. I'd like to start with you, Jessica. Can you frame for us what is ESG, so environmental, social, governance, and how does it sit within the travel industry?
Yeah, sure. Well, for us, I mean, at Sabre, well, first of all, if you don't know Sabre, I'll just quickly introduce us. We are a global travel technology company. We are responsible for facilitating around 700 million passenger bookings on planes per year and around $20 billion worth of hotel spend a year. So we sit at the core of the travel industry, so we take sustainability very seriously. But the way we look at ESG as opposed to sustainability is really that broader term. And ESG is the framework within which you measure your success in sustainability. So in those three areas, environmental, social and governance. And in terms of where that sits within the travel industry, I mean, like I said just now with Sabre, we sit at the core of the industry, which as a whole has a huge responsibility to adopt more sustainable practices. We heard earlier from the WTTC, so I won't go into too much detail about the state of sustainability in travel. But the stat was that travel in tourism is responsible for around 7% now of global emissions. So it's not the biggest emitting sector in the world, but it's definitely significant. So we all have a responsibility to forward sustainability and to forward the industry towards more sustainable practices so it has a more positive future.
Thank you, Jessica. And Geraldine, what do you think as well that ESG is kind of, you know, how it sits in the travel industry? Yes. Do you kind of agree with that?
Good afternoon, everybody. For us today, more than ever, our financial performance is linked to sustainable tourism development. We need to embed and report on non-financial metrics, and adopting an ESG approach does provide a frame for that and help drive our sustainability strategy. We need to be clear on what we measure, why we measure, set targets within defined time frame, and at the same time provide reassurance through third-party verification and certification, as we need to be careful not to go into any form of greenwashing and be able to walk our talk, as probably we are moving more from an investor perspective to a much more holistic stakeholder perspective.
Okay, yeah, no, very interesting. So, I mean, the EU's corporate sustainability reporting directive has now entered into force actually in January 2023, and is now really recognized as one of the leading regulatory frameworks. And in 2025, almost 50,000 companies must provide a corporate sustainability report. So can you each of you now share kind of what initiatives your firms are deploying vis-a-vis ESG and what impact you expect? Carlota, would you like to start?
Yeah, for one side, I want to introduce also the word prosperity inside the ESG concept, because I think now and with these new laws que apply in Europe, for example, it's important to talk not only in the short and the medium term. It's important to focus in the long term, in more for the climate change, like the another panelist talk about it. And talking about the ESG report in Spain in 2018, start the non-financial reporting law. That is advantage for the Spanish company because we already have this culture of reporting, but the new European law, the CSRD, not only said what you need to report, if also they talk about in what way you need to report. And that is the big challenge for all the companies, because the idea is create comparability between the different companies. And for that, for example, in a very concrete example, in the gender gap, que probably for all the companies is the more critical KPI, no? Until now, you can decide the way that you calculate this gender gap, but now you need to follow the same way between all the companies in Europe. In HBX Group, we already create a new framework of reporting. We already do this gap analysis between our reporting and the new law. And also, we create a timeline for adapt in the next 3 years.
Geraldine, would you like to tell us a little bit about your company and your initiatives?
Yes. So Beachcomber Resorts as the leading and
I think you need to go a bit closer.
Sorry, as thanks. So Beachcomber Resorts as leading and as pioneers of the hospitality industry in Mauritius. We started operation in 1952. We are deeply aware of the local heritage we have and the beauty that surrounds the places where we operate. So preserving our environment is really key. It's in fact embedded in our mission and even in our promise to be able to cultivate the art of beauty in all its dimension, beauty of the place, beauty of the heart. So we started our sustainability journey quite early. As from the early 1980s, we were equipping, for example, all our hotels with a sewage treatment plant to be able to ensure that 100% irrigation water would come from recycled wastewater. Then we set up our Fondation, Espoir Développement, for all the social and community works around the hotels where we operate in the late 1990s. But it's really in 2017 that we structured our environmental and social approach through the adoption of the EarthCheck certification standard. And later, in 2019, we unveiled our 52 Commitments Charter. And this really is the driving force and putting forward the actions that each and every resort must adopt and close the gaps by 2025. So these 52 commitments are grouped under 8 pillars, 4 of which are environmental-led, so water, energy, waste, and biodiversity, and 4 are socially led, starting from responsible sourcing, community development, the engagement of all our employees, and least but not last, the contribution from our guests. And really, this is the driving force behind. And we, in a very practical approach, we do have green team committees and regional committees to be able to drive this roadmap going forward. And I must say that 2024 is quite a milestone year for us, as all our resorts plus our head office has reached the EarthCheck Gold status. And we are also celebrating the 25th anniversary of our Fondation. So there is no regulatory reporting mechanism in Mauritius, but we've been on the framework already since quite a while.
Fantastic. Yeah. And can I just ask why 52 commitments particularly?
because we started our operations in 1952.
Okay,
and when we
fantastic.
actually drafted it, we were quite impressed by the number of actions that were already being done in our hotel. So when we summed all these up, we arrived at 1952, so we are quite happy with that.
Okay, fantastic. And Lucas, Amadeus.
Thank you. Well, talking about ESG, we take an inside-out approach. Our strategy is based on 3 pillars. First, to take a look at our own impact and sort of walk the talk, analyze what are the negative impact we generate in our operations and address them. For example, our data center is running since 2019 on renewable energy. We have recently validated our SBTi targets. And these initiatives, I think, give us the credibility to be listened to and to engage with other stakeholders, particularly with customers. We are also a technology company for the travel industry. We develop solutions that intend to make the industry more efficient. We are under the obligation of CSRD. I mentioned that we have also validated our targets SBTi. I think we need to go even beyond that area because, in my opinion, and this is arguable, these standards are very much focused on the negative impacts. And we need to believe, we believe in travel. We believe travel is a source for good. We need to believe we have to be a source of solutions to make travel better and to disassociate the growth of the industry from its negative impact. So we need to believe that we can contribute to that. The way we do that is to analyze things that are simple to all travelers, but that we focus particularly on them. For example, you have been in an aircraft, you have been at the airport, and when you board the aircraft, sometimes you wait, well, it takes maybe 15 minutes from the time the aircraft starts moving until the time it takes off. So the kind of things we look at is that, why is it 15 minutes? Can it be 14 or 13? What can we do about it? Can we facilitate the collaboration between all the airport players to make sure that this queue is better organized? Because this is cherry picking, this is beneficial for all. We improve the on-time performance, we improve the amount of fuel that is used, we reduce local pollution. This is a win-win-win situation. The same thing applies once we are in the aircraft, following the same example, we see some empty seats. And this may be not a very big deal for the passengers, no? But the fact is that if we see that 20% of the seats, which is more or less the average of the industry, are empty, how much this represents? Well, in an industry that, well, expect that it will be around 4 billion passengers, more or less, in a normal year, if you have 20% of empty seats, that's almost 1 billion empty seats. 1 billion empty seats, which is more or less the same number of total passengers we had 30 years ago. So if we can improve just a little fraction, the load factor, that means a lot. This is the kind of things we are looking at. Thirdly, we are working in cooperation with other players. I think that if we take sustainability seriously, we must agree that this is a global issue. There is little we can solve in isolation, even if we come up with the best technological solutions. We need to work together. We have achieved certain goals already, and I think we are in the right direction. But if we want to make significant change, we need to work together with others. And I'm happy to say that we work even with our own competitors in some of these initiatives to come up with solutions that offer travelers more sustainable options.
Thank you very much, Lucas. And Jess, tell us a little bit about what your ESG program is all about.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, we have recently launched a new sustainability strategy for Sabre. It's called Travel Positive. And this for us is really the framework that encompasses how we think about sustainability at Sabre. It has 3 pillars: people, planet, and prosperity. So we're starting really with our people and focusing first on this year. We'll be launching a a new program called the Sabre Travel Positive Program for our team members around the world. It's really focused on team member engagement, getting them excited and bought into sustainability, because without that, really, we're not going to achieve what we want to achieve on the other pillars, which are planet and prosperity. So we'll be launching that later in the year. It's going to consist of more than 6,000 hours of combined compulsory foundational training for all of our team members on sustainability. And then we'll also be, on the planet side, we've just committed to the Science-Based Targets Initiative last month. So that's, again, a major focus for us, is looking at our own emissions. We've just measured our Scope 3 emissions for the first time this year. So now that we have that data, we're in the position to set science-based targets. And we'll be looking at areas such as supply chain management, business travel, and energy providers going forward next year. And then sort of more significantly on the prosperity side of our new strategy, we're looking at how we can really, because I said earlier, we are one of the companies that sits at the core of the travel industry. So really looking, like Lucas was talking about, like how our own technology can really play a role in enabling more sustainable choices for the greater travel industry. So Lucas mentioned collaboration. We're a member of the Travelers Coalition, which I had planned to talk about a little bit further into this panel, so I won't cover everything off in one go. But yeah, really important that the industry works together and finds consistent, clear and credible ways to display and calculate sustainability information on both the flight and the accommodation side. So that's a little bit about where we're focused. And we are a relatively new team in the sustainability space. My other teammate Tess is in the audience here. We are now into our second year of having a dedicated sustainability function. So it's really been a priority for us to set up a framework, the Travel Positive, that really resonates with our team members, with our stakeholders, with our customers and investors, so that we can now sort of launch ourselves as a major player in the sustainability space.
Thank you very much, Jess. Okay, my next question is kind of what is the most important aspect of ESG for your organizations and in turn for the industry? Is it the E, is it the S or the G? And if you could illustrate that in actions, that would be really helpful. Carlota, if you'd like to start.
For me, it's impossible to choose one of the letters, but I can say you of what part for me are most important for each letter. Starting for the governance, I think I'm a little bit in the same situation of Jessica. I started in HBX Group 2 years ago. And I don't know if it's in my CV, but always I need to start the projects of zero. And always when someone asks me, what is the first step that you do when you need to create a strategy? You know, the first one is understand the level of sustainability of the company. The second one is measure the culture of sustainability of the company, of the employees, but also of the board and the directors of the company. And the third, most important, is make a materiality assessment to understand the requirements of your stakeholders and also your risks, the benchmark, your opportunities, and this for me is the first step. No, the part of the social is also super important, and more for the travel industry and also for the technologicals, because the talent attraction and retention now is one of the biggest problems. And the sustainability is a key for attract and also for retain the talent. And also, it's important when you don't have enough resources, use the employees and the areas of the company to create activist influencers. Victoria of my team is here, is now creating this project to have more hands inside the company and transform the culture faster. And the part of the environment, we are in the travel industry. We work with islands, with hotels. We are in destinations. Now the over-tourism is a big problem for the cities and natural spaces. For that reason, also, we need to work not only in the Scope 1 and the 2 and the 3 and decarbonize all the part of the value chain, that for a technological company for us is our more higher impact.
you very much, Carlota. Geraldine.
So definitely the three pillars are important, but depending on which segment of the industry you are with, the priority is different. So at Beachcomber, we own and operate beach resorts in Mauritius before all. So Mauritius, as a small island development state, we are highly vulnerable to climate change impacts. Don't have to say more about that. We all know that we are witnessing increasing temperatures, reduced rainfall, rising sea levels, causing coastal erosion, jeopardizing infrastructure and as well biodiversity. So though our industry is also suffering from scarcity of trained labor, I would definitely say that the E is an important element which we can less readily mitigate than other components under the S and the G.
Okay, thank you very much, Geraldine. And Lucas.
Well, regarding the three areas, I think, again, the three are important by themselves and also difficult to compare, I will say, no? So I think in the G, we are focusing very much in making sure that we report transparently. Regarding the S, there are many initiatives. I would like to highlight something that Carlota already mentioned, no? We are a technology company. We, almost of our workforce is composed of very talented, mostly young engineers that have a motivation to work in a company like us that is different from some years ago. We perceive that if we want to attract talent, we must be able to demonstrate that we are going to allow these people to tools and opportunities that with their talent, their two hands and their intelligent brain, they can build solutions that contribute to a better travel industry. If we don't do that, we will not be able to compete. So even if it is not for very altruistic reasons, but I think we simply have to do that. In the area of environment, of course, working in the travel industry, and particularly with airlines, still today more than 80% of our revenues come from airlines, so we have to make sure that we make a contribution to help them reduce their own impact. No? So the topic of climate change, of course, is very, very relevant, and that is why it is the focus. Is one important focus of our initiatives. No, in some of the areas that I mentioned before, but we also try to help airlines to fly optimally. We develop solutions that help airlines load, for example, the right amount of fuel. Fuel can be as much as half of the total weight of the aircraft for long-haul flights. If we are able to help airlines to decide the exact amount of fuel that is required, with the necessary, of course, security measures, safety measures, then we can save significant amounts of fuel. So this is the kind of areas where we are focusing, because, again, a little fraction of improvement means a lot in an aggregated manner.
Thank you very much. And Jess, finally.
I think all three, E, S and G, are of equal importance. I don't think you can have a successful sustainability strategy that prioritizes one over the other or leaves one of them out. I think they're equally important. But if I could start with one, I would start with the S, because that's your people. And positive action starts from within, really. So if you don't start with them, then I don't think you can kind of forward your agenda in the other areas, which is why I mentioned earlier our travel positive program for employees. That's going to be a main. It's something that our employees want. First of all, one of the first things we did when we became a sustainability team just over a year ago is to survey our employees and find out what makes them tick in the sustainability space, like where our passionate advocates were, and what they wanted to see from Sabre in sustainability area. And it found, like, overwhelmingly, I think of our team members around the world, 94% of them wanted to see Sabre more active in the space, and something like 91% wanted to be more educated on the topic so that they could contribute and make a difference. So I think that just shows, like, the appetite among people, it's there. but you need to ignite it if you're going to have a successful sustainability strategy. And while we have made quite significant strides in the other areas, particularly environmental and product, it's starting with the people. And like Carlota mentioned as well earlier, starting a network of people within a company that are supportive of sustainability and can help you forward your agenda. Again, that was one of the first things that we did before we put our strategy together, was to call out for people. We have 7,000 team members around the world, so we put a call out to find those that were really passionate about sustainability in all these different locations, ask them to come forward and start regional or local groups that could help kind of translate our global messages into a more local level, into messages that resonate locally. So yeah, for me, it's all equal importance, but starting with the people. And I think that's the same for the broader industry as well. I mean, travel, the whole point of travel really is connecting people and communities and places. So we need to put them at the heart of what we do. And of course, we need to look at all the other areas as well. But we need to remember that travel touches individual people and communities. So we need to put them at the core of what we're doing.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have only a few minutes left. So let's just finally, what are the next steps in ESG and its broader adoption? Lucas, if you wouldn't mind starting with that.
Yeah, well, I think we have a challenge. Over the years, we have come to agree that it's, first of all, it's a very important topic, which was one thing in itself. You know? I think after the pandemic, particularly, we realized about the vulnerability of the industry. So I think there is consensus already in the industry that we need to address this topic. The second advancement that we had is that, yeah, it's true that there is agreement that we need to work collaboratively. Now it is time to make things happen in many respects. No? Yeah. So we, for example, Sabre and us, we work together to inform travelers, not only about the availability of flights or the schedules or the fares, but also what is the impact that this flight is taking or this trip is taking, and how can you use it in your purchasing process to minimize it and to take probably more sustainable options. No? The adoption is relatively low yet. We need to understand what can we do to accelerate it. Can we promote it maybe with airlines, with loyalty programs? How can we take advantage of our indirect contact with millions of travelers to move the industry forward, to accelerate adoption and create a virtuous cycle by which travel providers will even feel more encouraged to adopt more sustainable options.
Okay, so I mean, really, it's about helping consumers to understand their impact, and also we need to reduce, but we also. What are your thoughts, kind of, on investment into nature, renewables? Carlota, do you have any thoughts on that?
At first, I want to add now we talk about the digital gap, but probably in the future we talk about digital sustainable gap, no? Because more in the travel sector, we have a lot of small and medium companies who probably don't have enough resources to take care about sustainability. And I think the future for us also is co-create, share, help the smaller and medium, and help them to reduce this gap between the different players of the sector. That for one side. In another, I think we need to invest more in science and new technologies for found another renewable energy resources and these kind of things.
Okay, thank you very much. Geraldine?
So first, I would say that we need to continue set the tone, challenging our operational processes, suppliers, employees, and ensure we set ambitious objectives. Then, secondly, I would say that the challenge is to be able to encompass as well today the short-term perspectives of our political leaders with our long-term commitments. So this is where the collaborative approach is extremely important, and this is where, as an industry, we should continue working together. So for me, this is extremely important as we adopt probably more a universal reporting framework as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Geraldine. Are there any questions from the audience for these industry leaders in ESG? No questions today. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much to everybody here. Thank you for the work you're doing. The industry is looking very closely as you are the leaders. And yes, thank you. Round of applause.